Welcome to Sunny Days and Diapers, Unfiltered Motherhood. I'm Alex, and I'm so happy to be here chatting with you about all things parenting, mental health, and everything in between. From the diaper blowouts to those little moments of pure sunshine that remind us why it's all worth it, we'll be diving deep into real stories and heartfelt insights every single month. Whether you're surviving sleepless nights or chasing big dreams in between those nap times, this space is for you. A place where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. So grab your coffee or your favorite drink, take a deep breath, because Sunny Days and Diapers is where every parent's story matters. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome to the first episode of Sunny Days and Diapers. I am so glad you're here. For the first episode today, I thought I'd share a little bit about me, what brought me here, my journey into motherhood. Really, let's just say a mix of everything. The highs, the lows, and all those what in the world am I doing moments in between. It's been a dream of mine to start this podcast for a while, but I honestly kept finding reasons to wait. I think I'd tell myself maybe later or maybe once I have more time, but really there really is never a perfect time to do something that you really want to do. You just have to find the motivation to do it. So here I am, ready to embrace the imperfections of what doing a podcast looks like. And I hope you'll keep staying on this ride with me and listen as we dig into really the real and the sometimes messy side of motherhood. Now, why Sunny Days and Diapers, Unfiltered Motherhood? I think if we're real, there's no shortage of advice out there as to what our kids should eat, how they should sleep, what to do if they're sick, how to discipline them. Everybody has something to say about what we should do as moms, as parents. And honestly, it's really overwhelming, especially as a new mom, as a new parent. You're just trying to figure it out. So I'm right there with you. My little guy is a year now. And even though I have maybe a year of mom experience, I still feel brand new to everything. Every milestone that he hits is a first for me as well. So we're figuring out together. And like all of us, I'm learning as I go. So really, why am I doing this podcast? I'm here because I want to create a space where we can talk about what's real in motherhood and parenthood. No filters, no perfection, just honestly sharing stories, asking those questions we're sometimes too afraid to ask to the pediatrician, to our friends, to anybody in our circle, celebrating the small victories and knowing we're not alone when things get difficult or just overwhelming. So that's why we're here. And I'm so excited that you decided to listen in and that you're still listening. So honestly, I wanted to take this time to introduce myself, share a little bit about my family, why, what this year has looked like, and get started. So speaking of my family, I married to my amazing husband. We've been married for almost 5 years now. We have a sweet, energetic, adventurous 1-year-old son who started walking around 11 months. So our lives have basically been nonstop since then. I do work a full-time job, 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. And on those days when I'm at home, I'm really juggling work and just giving attention to my baby as much as I can. Honestly, I've never appreciated the saying, it takes a village more than I do during this phase in my life. My dad helps out a lot. My parents help a lot, family, friends, but I'm beyond grateful for that support. And I know that many people don't have that village that they can rely on. So I hope that if you're listening to this and you're in that space where you don't know who you can reach out to for help, that you find that tribe, those friends that you can call just to listen to you or just to help you in the phase that you're in, and a friend that you can really lean on. So let me share about how all this began. My son was born August 31st, 2023. It's been a year, but honestly, I felt like I've lived many lives in this year. I found out I was pregnant in January of 2023. I wouldn't say it was unexpected. It was definitely not expected so quickly, but it was 11 p.m. We had just gotten home from a trip, and my husband insisted that I take a pregnancy test because I was being strange. I was being weird. I had nausea. I hadn't had my period, really all the signs, but I kept telling myself, oh no, it's fine. I'm good. So finally, it was 11 p.m. We took the pregnancy test, and I said, I cannot see it. So I basically ran away from the room, from the restroom, and then my husband was the one that actually saw the test result. And he goes, it says you're pregnant. And I said, what? And then I went and I looked at it, and there it was, as bright as day, pregnant. We decided to get the one that said either pregnant or not pregnant, just to, prevent any confusion, but there was no confusion. It said pregnant. And I immediately started crying. I had a lot of emotions. I was filled with excitement, but honestly, I was more filled with what the heck happens now? What am I supposed to do now? This wasn't in my plan. I'm a planner by nature, but I did not fully plan this part out. We were living in a one apartment. There was barely space for the two of us. How the heck am I going to have a baby here? He's not going to have a room. All these scenarios started playing in my head. I had to take a second pregnancy test to make sure. And again, it said pregnant. And then it finally sank in. So what happens now? Honestly, I jumped right into prepping for his arrival. And I think in another episode, we'll talk about the whole experience of actually being pregnant. Thankfully, I had an overall very healthy pregnancy. I did experience some hiccups along the path, which I'll talk later about. But overall, a healthy pregnancy, thank the Lord. And before we ever expected it, I went into labor. I went into labor August 30th at 2 a.m. And I labored at home as much as I could until around 12 p.m. or so. And that's when my water broke. And when the water broke, I wasn't even sure it was my water breaking. My mom and my husband were with me. And I said, wait, I need to go back. So I went back into the restroom. And I'm like, okay, no, this is definitely my water. So we rushed to the hospital. And when we got there, I was separated from them and I went to triage, and then they had to do a bunch of checks. And of course, the hospital was full. Almost like every mom in Miami was going into labor or having a baby. So I had to wait there for a while. I'm having contractions, just sitting there waiting for someone to see me, until finally I was able to get seen. They checked me, and of course, that was definitely my water. My water had broken, and I was maybe 1 centimeter dilated, maybe 2, I can't remember. So immediately I was admitted because my water had broken, and I just continued to labor for a few more hours without any kind of medication or epidural. And finally, by around 6 p.m. on August 30th, I said, okay, I need a break. I need the epidural. I need to sleep. I'm exhausted. I had been laboring since 2 a.m. that day. So I opted for the epidural. Unfortunately, the process of getting the epidural didn't quite go as I had hoped. I felt everything really at the end. I couldn't move. I still felt all the pain, and I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't really move around and get comfortable as much as anyone can when you're having a baby. I honestly, this would be a whole other episode of that part of my labor. But basically, I had to get the epidural put in twice because of some error. And the second time they put it in, it only worked for about an hour. And then I full blown felt every single thing. And then eventually, I think I labored with that scenario happening for maybe 3 hours until finally I told the doctor, hey, I can't do this anymore. Basically, my son just didn't descend as he needed to, and he was angled the wrong way, and he was just not coming down. No matter how much I was pushing, I made it to 10 centimeters and nothing. So I said, hey, I can't do this anymore. So I went ahead and I asked really for a C-section. And they put more of the epidural, and they rushed me to the emergency room for the OR room for the surgery. And that was so strange, just being there watching them take my son out, not feel anything, feel the tugging, but really not being able to see anything. And then suddenly hearing my son cry and say, wow, finally he's here after so many hours of waiting for this moment. And he was born at 3:53 in the morning on August 31st. So after that, I spent about 2 days in the hospital. Honestly, I don't remember much of those 2 days. I think the day after I gave birth, I was at a high. I felt happy. I felt excited. I felt so much love for my son. And then all of a sudden, I think all of that adrenaline just decreased. And I remember just crying at one moment when the nurse came in and asked how I was doing. And I just couldn't stop crying. I couldn't figure out how to stop crying. I felt so overwhelmed. I had pain everywhere from pushing for so many hours and not being able to have my son the way I wanted to and the way I had hoped for. I mean, I did a birth plan. I had an image in my head of how I wanted it to go. And unfortunately, it didn't go that way. And I just felt horrible. And emotionally, physically, the exhaustion really kicked in. And I was dealing with those emotions. I had the support of my husband and my mom. Obviously, they don't understand completely that moment because only you as a mom would understand those feelings and just how your body is coping with what just happened, which is so incredibly traumatic for you and for the baby that's being born. But we made it through. I got discharged, and we headed home to bring this baby back to our lives and find a new normal of what it looks like to have somebody else in your routine, in your day-to-day. The months after my son was born were both beautiful but extremely exhausting. My husband was at home maybe the first 2 months. I can't remember exactly, maybe the first month. Thankfully, his work was so flexible with him being home. But obviously at one point I was home alone, and I was struggling. I was struggling mentally. I had to do some therapy. I had to try to find some online mom groups, some way to cope with dealing with how my birth went, as well as with the new normal of motherhood, of having someone that depends on me. I was breastfeeding at the time, so that was taking a lot of energy. And then I wasn't ready to see people. I wasn't ready to go anywhere. I was stuck at home. And with the C-section, I really couldn't move around as much as I wanted to. So I would say maybe a lot of regrets. And I think that maybe if you're listening to this, maybe you have similar experiences, or maybe you had a great experience, and that's awesome. I think that's amazing. I do think that a lot of the times after we give birth, there's this idea of how beautiful, you get to be home with your baby and you get to enjoy the moments. But a lot of the times it's not the case. I wish I would have been able to enjoy them a little bit more. And I think that many moms might feel the same way. And it's okay if that's where you're at right now. Just make it through the day and know that that baby is depending on you, but also you need to take care of yourself and how you feel emotionally and mentally. And honestly, what pushed me to get better was spending time and talking to my husband, but also praying and understanding that even in this season where it feels very isolating, there is a purpose for where I'm at. And even though you're taking care of this beautiful being that you were given and that you were entrusted with, your your heart and your mind and your physical well-being really matters. So at sometimes I think, especially with breastfeeding and having this little human depend on you 24/7, being on top of you 24/7, everybody was really worried about him. You kind of go from being pregnant, everybody loving you and saying, wow, you're glowing, to going after and saying, okay, so let's just see the baby. Nobody really asks, how are you doing? So if you're not a mom and you're listening to this, the only thing I would say, only advice I would give is if you have moms around you, ask them how they're doing instead of going straight to asking how their baby's doing. That matters. That goes a long way. So again, here I am a year later, really embracing this beautiful season. I'm not postpartum anymore. I'm going into my son's, he just turned 1 and he's in his explorer stage. He is walking, he is running. As I'm recording this, it's 10:12 p.m. and my son had a surgery about 2 days ago that was another little hiccup in our path, but he had a surgery and everything went well. And I'll probably do another episode on what the surgery was, the experience. But again, motherhood comes with all these beautiful moments, but there's difficult ones too that we have to know that it's okay to go through them, and it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel like maybe you're not connected with your baby immediately. That connection happens, but it's so important to talk about it. So this is why this space is to be okay with those uncomfortable moments where you doubt yourself, or where you're waiting for other people to give you advice, or you're searching for something, or you're Googling all these different scenarios. But that's all part of being a part of this new stage and being okay with just going with the flow of every day. It looks different as your child gets older. Now I'm dealing with somebody that has an attitude, that wants to open every single door that he sees, that is an explorer, that laughs and giggles at funny faces, that points at everything, that loves dogs, that actually is a little person now with a personality that is so beautiful. So even if it's really difficult right now, just know that the next phase will have beautiful moments too. So you got to just make it through. There is a purpose for your life as a mother, or your life as a father, or your life with people that you know that are mothers and fathers that you can support. So again, this episode is really about understanding why your purpose right now as a mom and as a father is important. If you're in the trenches of the newborn dark moments where you're not sleeping, or where you're struggling to stay awake because you're scared your baby's gonna fall off after the breastfeeding, or you don't know how to get them to fall asleep, that all those things are okay, and you're gonna get through them, and they're gonna be difficult. But know that if you're finding it to be too difficult, or if you're not being able to cope with it, it's okay. You can find support with other people around you that you can ask questions to, that you can share your experiences with. So really, that's a little bit about me and my journey into motherhood. I can't wait to share more about things like postpartum depression, because it definitely is real. I can't wait to share more things about those really funny moments where you have a blowout in the car and you don't know what to do. Those moments of not knowing how to build that relationship with your partner again after bringing another human being into your life, into your routine. Losing yourself a bit in breastfeeding, and everybody telling you it's beautiful and great, and the beginning portion of it is so hard, and it's difficult until it becomes easy. All these things are all part of motherhood and parenthood and having this baby with you for the rest of your life. But it's such a blessing, and I know that the world around us tells us that once you have a baby, it's the end of your career. It's the end of having fun. Yeah, your life changes, your priorities change. Now you are focused on keeping this little person alive and well and happy and training them up to be better than you. But your life does not end. Your life continues and it gets better and it evolves and it transforms into something truly, truly beautiful. So, in my next episode, I'll go into further detail with my experience with my husband and his point of view of all the things that we've dealt with the past year. But I'm so happy that you are coming along this journey as we talk about the hard topics, but also the really great topics. Like the first time you hear your baby laugh, that's the best feeling. Or the first time they give you a kiss and they learn how to give those really wet kisses where they just, I don't know, do the whole tongue thing. If you're a mom, you know what I'm saying. So I know that if this story resonated with you, know that I am so excited to have you join this journey and be part of all this, and know that your story matters wherever you are in motherhood and parenthood. So thanks for listening to Sunny Days and Diapers. I'm so glad we're in this together. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining us today on Sunny Days and Diapers. I hope today's episode brought a little sunshine and realness to your journey in motherhood. Remember, whether today feels like a sunny day or a diaper day, you're not alone and you're doing an incredible job. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out our next chat. And hey, if you know a mom or dad who could use a little encouragement, share the love and pass this episode along. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out on @Sunny Days and Diapers on Instagram. Your stories, your thoughts, they mean the world to me and my husband, and they help make this community stronger.